birthplace, the modern town of Sulmona, still proudly claims the poet as its most famous son, adorning municipal insignia with his words, Sulmo mihi patria est. Sulmo is my homeland. Tristia. Book 4, Chapter 10, verse 3. The local people, the Pylignii, had been at the centre of the fierce revolt of the Italian allies against Rome between 91 and 89 BC, and the capital of the rebels, Italica, had been located in Corfinium, just 10 miles up the road from Sulmo. By Ovid's time, that sense of anti-Roman local identity was only a memory. Amores, Book 3, Chapter 15, verses 8 to 10. And Ovid grew to adolescence in a linguistic and educational environment that was thoroughly Roman. His talent, and his family's ambition, took him to further education in the metropolis itself, where his precocious brilliance in the schools of rhetoric was still being talked about years after his death. He appeared to be on track for a career in the imperial service or the courts and senate, but he found, as he put it in an autobiographical poem towards the end of his life, that everything he tried to say kept coming out as verse. Tristia, Book 4, Chapter 10, verses 25 to 26. After putting his foot on the lowest rung of the ladder of a political career and serving as a member of a lowly bureaucratic board called the Committee of Three, he abandoned public life, against the protests of his father, and devoted himself completely to poetry. He claims that he was known for his recitations of poetry when he was still a teenager. In any event, by the time he was 30, he was famous all over the empire for his amores, loves. Poems in elegiac metre that still crackle with intelligence, ambition, and panache. Virgil and Tibullus had died in 19 BC, when Ovid was not yet 25. After that, Horace and Propertius were his only possible rivals for fame, and following their deaths, in Ovid's mid-30s, he stood alone as the undisputed leading poet of Rome. Inventive energy and driving self-reliance marked his writing from the start. Poetry about passionate love and the conflicts forced upon a well-born Roman by a life of love had been at the heart of Roman literature since Catullus, who died some 10 years before Ovid was born. Following Catullus, a string of diverse and talented elegiac poets had in sequence collaborated on this tradition so as to produce a novel genre, known nowadays as Latin love elegy. The greatest of these poets, Propertius, was still actively writing when Ovid audaciously took it upon himself to make this well-acknowledged field uniquely his own, by cutting back on the expanding options of the genre and concentrating on its most essential elements. His major triumph was to make the tradition look as if it had always been destined to find its fulfillment in its Ovidian form. Although we now call this tradition Latin love elegy, it is virtually certain that we would be calling it something else, or not even regarding it as a tradition in the first place, if Ovid had never written. Each new phase of his career was to demonstrate the same phenomenal ability to put his own distinctive mark of ownership on a long-standing inheritance. Ovid's poetic career carried him on to explore the theme of love in a variety of genre and contexts. He followed the Amores with another elegiac collection, the Epistulae Heroidum, letters from heroines. In these letters, glamorous figures such as Helen, Penelope, or Dido, often from the lofty genres of epic and tragedy, write to treacherous or inaccessible lovers and husbands. Here, he shows the zestful relish for dissonance that marks so much of his work, not least the Metamorphoses. Characters and scenarios that the audience knows well from other contexts are transmuted into a different genre and metre, with discordant effects that transform the way we think about both the old and the new contexts. He next took on the pose of the scientist of love, writing a series of didactic works that purport to do for sex what Lucretius had done for atomism, and what Virgil had done for agriculture. Ars Amatoria, Art of Love, Handbook of Sex Technique, Remedia Amoris, Cures for Love, How to Fall Out of Love, Now I've Taught You How to Fall In, Medicamina